Gentlemen, welcome. It's week 13, final week of the regular season, and things are heating up. I mean, tell me about it. We got some playoff teams fighting for that last spot. We got a handful of teams that are just looking to stay alive in the losers bracket, and I cannot be more excited. Today, I'll be your host. I want to give a special shout out to Grant Gavell, who is unable to live up to his duties today, but that's okay because you're going to get the first episode of Sitting with the Squid. So without further ado, just want to say good luck to all those teams that are fighting for that spot and fighting for those precious seeding in the winners bracket, and to all you guys out there that are going to be joining me in the Squid playoffs, good luck. All right, let's get started. So the first matchup I wanted to do on the predictions today is going to be all the teams that are in the Squid bracket and the losers bracket. Really, these games have no implication on anything since we're going to do the top two high scores. But it's still going to be fun to see where everybody ends up, and we do have a couple games that are going to be huge for this week. So let's go ahead and get started. We got first Macklin on Your Girl versus Little PP's Lost Boys. Fathom, dude, what are you doing? I just don't understand. You have a good team. You're 3-9. That record really doesn't show how good your team is, but I feel like you've just been slacking. I feel like you want to be the Squid this year. Going up against Grant, who, kind of like some of the other teams that are going to be going into the losers bracket, just haven't had good luck. Had some really close games, had some things just not quite go their way. And honestly, Grant, I feel like you are just destined to be the Squid. So, but looking at this matchup, let's see. I really like Todd Gurley going up against the Lions. I think he's going to have a huge week, kind of bounce back for him. LeGarrette Blount against the Rams, that could be tough, but he's put up big numbers in the past couple weeks, so we'll see if he can continue that. Gronk and Edelman, kind of putting a lot of faith in the Patriots going up against Minnesota's defense, but they haven't been as good as they've been in the past. Austin Eckler is going to be a great play this week, I think. No Melvin Gordon, so he's going to get a lot of touches. I forgot exactly what the stat was, but in games that he's had over 15 touches, he scored over 20 points, I think. So he should have a huge week. And looking at Fathom's team, he has Tom Brady, which kind of benefits Grant if he's throwing to Gronk and Edelman. So that could kind of offset the points there. James Conner just hasn't really been what he was earlier in the year, and going up against Chargers defense that I think is actually pretty good. Tyreek Hill, I think he could have another 30-plus point week, to be honest with you. Going up against the Raiders, I know they have a decent secondary, but he just always seems to get that one big play. So look for him to have a huge game. As I'm looking at this, I won't spend too much time on it just because it is really for nothing. But I'm going to go with Little PP's Lost Boys. I think that they're in a good position to get out early in the losers bracket. Todd Gurley's just a beast. The Patriots usually seem to do well this time of year. So I will take the Lost Boys in this one. All right, moving on. Pickle Rich and the Slim Jims. This is another game that really has no meaning except for bragging rights. And Rich, I always love to brag against you. So looking up at this one, so I'm looking at the preview on ESPN right now where they have the red check boxes. And Rich has almost every checkbox except for 3 on this matchup. But I am projected to score more points. So ESPN, you are dumb. But anyway, I will have to start looking at the running backs here. Deion Lewis and Nick Chubb versus David Johnson and Adrian Peterson. On paper, David Johnson and Adrian Peterson should be just blowing this matchup out of the water, but they have been underperforming as of late. Deion Lewis going up against the Jets and Nick Chubb against Houston. I do think that Nick Chubb against Houston is going to be difficult, but Rich's wide receivers can really break this one out for him. Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, those guys have been just on fire lately, especially Amari Cooper as soon as he got traded. And then Mike Evans and Calvin Ridley, they've kind of sucked as well. So I won't spend much time on this one either. I think Rich is going to win. The Slim Jims have just been slacking lately. But as I mentioned earlier this week, we are just saving our high score, all the points, everything for Week 14. Getting out of the losers bracket early. Not going to play around this year. Not going to be wearing this for much longer. Grant, we might have to get a bigger size. I don't know. But we'll see if we could get it altered for you. All right, so we got Pickle Rich going on in that one. All right, here's where it gets a little more interesting because Willie is in the playoffs. We got behind Bienemy Lions versus Taking Care of Business, the number 11 seed in this week's power rankings. Congratulations, Posh. But again, this has no implications on what's going to happen in the playoffs. Willie is locked into that 4 seed, and Jake will be with me and the rest of the guys in the losers bracket. So looking at it real quick, I've said it before, Willie's team's on fire. Saquon Barkley, Julio Jones, Emmanuel Sanders, Zach Ertz, even Ben Roethlisberger has been doing good for the quarterback position. I think he is in a prime spot to make a playoff run. He's been putting up big points all year, even despite not having the best matchups and having some injuries and things like that. Even Lamar Miller had a 97-yard touchdown run last week. From a guy that he was looking to trade me for most of the second half of the season. I'm sure you're pretty glad that you kept him now. So I don't think it's going to be much of a contest. Willie, you've been putting up over 130 pretty easily. And Posh, you've been kind of like me and some of the rest of the guys in the losers bracket. We're just struggling to put up 100. I do like Posh's chances going into the losers bracket. He has been trending upwards. He does have some good players. I just feel like he's kind of had some bad luck. His running backs do scare me a little bit. But Tyler Lockett, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, those guys have actually been performing pretty well. So I don't think he's going to be the squid. And if history tells us anything, we know that the best team in the regular season usually doesn't win it, and the worst team usually doesn't lose it. So I'm going to go with Willie in this one, and we'll see if he can keep that going into the playoffs. And Posh, I hope that you suck in the losers bracket because I do not want to be the squid again. All right, here we go. This is where it all comes down to seeding for the winners bracket. We got the Squid Doctor going up against Big Lang Theory. I got Willie's seeding projections here. Okay, so Lang, you're the number 1 seed no matter what. It looks like you probably have a tiebreaker against Kyle. And Squid Doctor, you have clinched as well, but it kind of just depends on where you're going to be. You're either going to be the, 5 or 6 seed, which could be huge. I wouldn't want to go up against Lang in the playoffs right now. His team has just been on fire all year. So let's see what you would be. I don't know who you would play first in the playoffs, but anyway, looking up at this matchup, we were kind of talking about it on GroupMe earlier today. He's putting a lot of eggs into the Packers basket this week and every week. Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams. Those guys have been doing well lately. The Packers have been good. They're going up against Arizona this week, who is just awful. So I do look for all those guys to have big weeks. Kareem Hunt against Oakland should be a big game for Kareem Hunt. Stephon Diggs against New England, I think he has a good game. Eric Ebron, who just kind of resurrected his fantasy career this year, is going up against Jacksonville, who, as we all know, we broke horribly. So I think he'll have a decent game. Going up against Big Lang, Matt Ryan against Baltimore, I think he'll be decent, but I don't expect him to have a huge, 30-plus point game this week. Zeke against New Orleans, I do think that's a good matchup for him. And Mixon against Denver, I see him kind of being in about the 15-point range there. Looks like Lang is going to try to play A.J. Green. We'll see how effective he is coming off that injury. It says that he's been limited in practice all week, so we'll see if he even goes. Travis Kelce against Oakland is going to be huge. I think any Chiefs player going against that Oakland defense is going to have a good game. Just kind of looking at this, I really think having the Packers players going up against Arizona is just going to pay dividends for the Squid Doctor. I think that he'll obviously he'll be relying on them a lot, but I do think he'll get it done. So I'm going to go Squid Doctor in this one, even though it doesn't really matter too much. Squid Doctor will be the 5 seed, and Big Lang will stay at the number 1. All right. Here we go. He-Man Woman Haters Club versus Suck for Luck. This was almost the game of the week, but He-Man Women Haters Club has kind of locked in their spot at the number 2 spot, so I didn't put it this one, but this does have huge implications. Maury has been on fire lately. I think he said he started off 0-4, which is just crazy to think about. Now at 6-6 with a chance to be in the playoffs. I think this is really going to come down to whether Kyle has an off week. If Kyle has an on week, I don't really see a lot of teams being able to keep up with him. Patrick Mahomes, Dalvin Cook, McCaffrey has just been a stud lately. Beckham and Thomas, even Olsen has come back from that injury and been a solid tight end. He has a good shot to win it all as well. I think if they're on opposite sides of the bracket, that Kyle versus Willie could easily be the championship game. Going up against Maury's team, Andrew Luck, he has been great lately, going up against Jacksonville, who, again, we definitely broke. So I do think he'll have a good game. His running backs kind of worry me, Kenyon Drake and Mark Ingram. I mean, both of them have the potential to have good games, but, I just don't see him keeping up with what McCaffrey has been doing, or even, Dalvin Cook after he got done with his injury. I really think that Maury's wide receivers are going to have to step it up this week to really have a chance. Antonio Brown, Kenny Golladay, even Mohamed Sanu. All those guys have potential to have huge weeks. And even Jared Cook going up against Kansas City. I think that Kansas City is ranked 30th. Yeah, 30th against the tight end this year. The Kansas City defense is giving up points, and so it's going to have to come from somewhere for Oakland, and I think that Jared Cook has a good opportunity to do that. Maury playing the Saints D against Dallas. We'll see how that plays out. I'm kind of nervous about that one for him. But I do like the pickup by Kyle going with the Colts D against Jacksonville. I think they'll have maybe a turnover or two with Blake Bortles. This is a tough one. As I mentioned, I think Kyle's going to have a bad week for Maury to win. And just kind of going over the matchups, I don't think that Kyle is going to, slip up. I think he continues his hot streak going into the playoffs and really positions himself in a spot that he can make a run for the championship. And, Maury, you had a good run, but you got to prove me wrong here. All right, and for the game of the week, wide receiver power versus King of the Jews. Both of these teams are fighting for a division championship. And Jim, you could either be, you could be the division winner, the number 3 seed. You could be the number 6 seed, or you could be out of the playoffs. So I hope you got a lot of Eddies on hand. I hope you got a lot of beer on hand, because you're going to need it this week. Scott, of course, is doing his little mind tricks that he likes to do by not setting his lineup. So I have him pulled up on this other screen, and I'm just kind of guess what he should do, and try to make a prediction based off that. But the big thing going into this game is going to be Melvin Gordon being out. I mentioned earlier that I think Austin Eckler will have a good week, and that really hurts for Scott. Even going into the playoffs, that was that was a huge piece to his team. And so I'm kind of curious to see who he's going to plug in there and try to rely on. But, if I had to pick, let's see, I'd be going with Deshaun Watson against Carolina, Juju, and let's see, maybe Deshaun Jackson for your wide receivers. Philip Lindsay obviously has been great. And do you dare play Derrick Henry this week after that fumble? I don't know. Let's see. Going over to Harmon's team, we have Dak Prescott, who he mentioned today that he's going up against New Orleans. I do like the pickup. I'm trying to get in his head a little bit by suggesting Baker Mayfield, but I do think Dak is probably a safer play overall. Alvin Kamara, James White should have monster games this week, especially Alvin Kamara going up against Dallas. I really think that he has the opportunity to get 2 touchdowns and over 150 all-purpose yards. Adam Thielen going up against New England. I think he'll have a good game. DJ Moore. Let's see, George Kittle. Ooh, and a special guest. Say hi, kitty. Who do you think's going to win? All right. She has no help. George Kittle going up against Seattle. He's been a monster this year. Tyler Boyd has really turned into the better wide receiver out of him and A.J. Green. 1, he's healthy, and 2, he has that deep threat every single week. And then the Chiefs defense going up against Oakland. Just looking at it, Scott didn't really give me much of a choice by not sending a lineup, but I do really like Harmon's chance here. I do think that his running backs will carry him this week, and he will win the division. And so out of all the scenarios that Harmon can do, we have him going to be in the 3 seed. So anyway, that is all the games this week. We have Lang, Kyle, Scott, Willie, Spencer, Harmon going to be in the playoffs is my prediction. And Maury, you can come on down to the losers bracket with me and Adam, Grant, Rich, and Jake. So there you have it, guys. That's been Sitting with the Squid, and signing off. We will see you guys on the gridiron.